Hi, my name is Megan Weidman, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my presentation about the Waldorf Approach. What is Waldorf? The first Waldorf school was opened in Germany by Rudolf Steiner in 1919. The school is based on his theory of child development. Steiner created a theory on the development of children that happens over 7-year cycles. The first cycle takes place from birth to age 7. During this time, physical development is the most important thing. He believed that academic development was not important at this time, and instead children learn best through imitation and play and experiencing and learning about the world around them. The second cycle is from age 7 to 14. At this time, children are ready to begin academic instruction. They are developmentally ready because they're more aware of the world around them and what they have experienced and learned through their first 7-year cycle. The third cycle is from ages 14 to 21. During this time, children are becoming more aware of their surroundings and they're ready to think more in depth intellectually and think more abstract thoughts. During this time, their academic instruction is just greater than it was in the previous cycle because they're more prepared for more intensive instruction. The Waldorf approach believes that education should focus on teaching the whole child. That means socially, emotionally, spiritually, morally, physically, and intellectually. Children should be taught not just what to think, but how to actually think for themselves. They do this through learning hands-on approach and having freedom in their learning. Steiner believed that learning occurs through the 5 senses and play an important impact on how children learn. Play and imitation are very important aspects of learning, especially in the first 7-year cycle. Steiner believed that children should be allowed to learn on their own pace and monitored by teachers and guided, but learning is student-led. Most importantly, Steiner believed to let children be children. Too often, academics are pushed on children where they have no time to actually be a child. Waldorf schools began in Germany in 1919 and now have spread all over the world. They can also be found in the United States, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Japan, and Australia. There is even a Waldorf school in Birmingham, Alabama. Most schools are traditional Waldorf schools, but some schools have made some changes. For example, public schools that use the Waldorf approach have to take out the spiritual aspect of learning because of the separation of religion from education. This is a graph that shows the growth of Waldorf schools from 1919 through 2012. You can see here where it started with one school and over the next 40 years continued to grow, but when we got to 1980 there was a huge spike in how many schools there are worldwide. Let's take a look into the exciting aspects of a Waldorf school. Waldorf Kindergarten is probably the most popular school that can be found. While some schools go all the way through 12th grade, some of the Waldorf schools are kindergarten only. In Waldorf Kindergarten, students are between the ages of 3 to 6 years. The curriculum includes play, daily real-life activities such as cleaning, baking, knitting, and other household chores. It also includes fairy tales, fables, folklores, imitation, musical instruments, dance, drama, and learning about nature, life cycles, and seasons through explorations outside. All learning is done through a hands-on, student-led approach. Because Steiner believed that the 5 senses played a big part in children's learning, then classroom environment is very important. He believed that classroom walls should be pastel in color to create a calming effect. He also believed that the furniture should be very simple and made of solid, plain-colored wood. The toys should be natural items that can also be found in nature, and the classrooms are designed to resemble a home. The teacher responsibilities are very important in a Waldorf school. In fact, teachers have to go to a Waldorf university to be qualified to teach at a Waldorf school. The three qualities a teacher should possess are reverence, enthusiasm, and protection. Reverence is the attitude that a teacher has. She should always speak clearly and act in ways that deserve imitation. Because children learn so much through imitation, it's very important that the teacher is acting in ways that the parents would want the children to imitate and learn from. It's also important that the teacher realizes and respects the fact that all children need to learn at their own pace and progress at their own pace. Teachers should be very enthusiastic about learning and experiences. Enthusiasm is contagious, and the students will be more likely to be engaged and want to learn more if their teacher is very enthusiastic about what she is teaching. It's also the teacher's responsibility to protect children, emotionally, socially, and psychologically. In the Waldorf schools, a teacher's responsibility is kind of like the responsibility of a parent, and she should be very loving and nurturing and protective. Routines are a big part of a Waldorf schools. They're very important to help children feel safe and secure. There are daily routines, weekly routines, seasonally routines, and yearly routines. This is possible because the children stay together for consecutive years from ages 3 to 6. An example of a weekly routine would be on Monday, they always bake bread. On Tuesday, they always make vegetable soup, and so on. This way the students know what to expect each week, and it's a very good feeling to the kids and makes them feel safe. Imaginative play is an important part of the Waldorf approach. It is important for social and emotional development. A key part to it is that the children are allowed to freely choose what they would like to play, and that the toys are very simple. They're not educational toys, they're simple toys that can be found in nature. This way the children are able to use their imaginations and think creatively about what a toy may be. Free play also includes dress-up areas for retail and acting out stories using their imagination. This is an example of Waldorf toys that you can see here that there are pebbles, there's pieces of wood that the child is using as a plate, there's a wooden teapot, a wooden stump, and they even use pine cones and other materials found in nature. This leaves very much up to the imagination. Imitation is another important part of the Waldorf approach. It's especially an important part in kindergarten classes because students learn through imitating adults. That they imitate teachers' actions such as cooking, knitting, and doing daily chores. Every day, the students help prepare their daily snacks. They participate in many other daily chores too, such as cleaning, and this all begins from imitating their teachers. The class eats together at a table to create a home-like atmosphere. Picture books are not used in kindergarten. Instead, teachers retell stories such as fairy tales, folklores, fables, and poems, and so the children are able to use their imagination. Steiner believed that children in the first 7-year cycle are not academically prepared for reading, so that does not begin until the second 7-year cycle. Children are able to explore musical instruments, and all art activities are very important because it allows children to use their creative minds. There is time spent in each day allowing children to participate in these types of activities. Nature plays a significant role in helping students learn about their world around them. Each day, lessons are held in the outside area. In kindergarten, students learn about life cycles and seasons through outside play. Steiner believed that nature was a very important part of learning about our world around us, and in kindergarten, the daily time spent outside helps prepare students to be more ready to begin their next cycle. Peer grouping is unique in Waldorf schools because students' classes are made up of students from a range of ages. They are encouraged to work in groups, but also at times encouraged to work independently. The age range allows for close relationships to be made, and the consecutive years spent together also allows for close relationships. Younger students are able to look up to older students, and older students are able to gain responsibility because they help scaffold the younger students' learning. Past Waldorf education past kindergarten. There are Waldorf schools, many Waldorf schools, that have education where it's not kindergarten only. After kindergarten, the next 7-year cycle takes place in grades 2 through 8. Students and the teachers stay together and grow together during this time. It is common for students to not begin reading until grades 3 or 4, because that is when they are academically prepared. Beginning in grade 2, students are ready to begin academic learning. These subjects that they learn include reading, writing, language skills, math, geography, history, and sciences. Subjects are taught for 3 to 4 weeks, and students are able to learn and explore at their own pace. Still consistent with what is believed in kindergarten and Waldorf classes, students are not pressured to learn at a certain pace. They are able to freely explore and learn at a pace that is suitable for them. A daily routine is still a very important part of the Waldorf approach past kindergarten. A daily routine in the older grades may look like this. It begins with a morning verse, an inspirational passage, a 2-hour block of various activities for a subject that is taught over a 3 to 4 week period, and then a 45-minute lesson of a different subject with a break in between for lunch, and followed by another 45-minute lesson of another subject. The remainder of the afternoon is spent for the children to think creatively. They're allowed to do artwork, music, crafting, such as knitting, and other skilled work to learn how to live in the world around them. This is an example of children taking part in a daily life skill by practicing knitting. This is something that begins in kindergarten and is carried on throughout the years in Waldorf schools. How do teachers assess when students are not pressured to be learning at a specific timeline? Students are not given any type of standardized test. Their progress is measured simply through observation. Teachers make sure to be discreet about observation in order to not cause any anxiety. After teachers make their observations and notes, they work with parents to set goals for each student. Lastly, why choose Waldorf? Waldorf is a wonderful school because it focuses on the whole child. It focuses on the physical aspects, the social aspects, the emotional aspects, linguistic, aesthetic, cognitive, spiritual, and moral. Students have predictable routines each day, which creates a calming atmosphere for the child. Waldorf schools help teach kids not just not just what to think, but how to think. That creates a more well-rounded individual in the real world. And it also helps inspire creativity and individuality in each child. What more could we want for students? Thank you for listening to my presentation about the Waldorf approach. You can use these resources to find out more.